Hello everyone and welcome into Coach Craig Sports. This is the NBA DFS Core Pick video for today, Thursday, January 18th. If you are joining me for the very first time, first of all, welcome in. Second of all, this is how today's video will be structured. We'll be going over a recap of yesterday's picks, seeing how they ultimately ended up turning out. And then after that, we'll move over to RotoWire, talk about the injuries in play. It's a 5-game main slate in total today. You know, it's typical Thursday slate where we don't have too many games going on, so should be a pretty interesting one once again. We do have a couple of teams that are on the back-to-back today. We had Utah that should have been as well, although their game yesterday did get canceled, unfortunately, due to the passing of the assistant coach for the Golden State Warriors. So, thoughts and prayers go out to him and his family at this point in time. And then after that, we'll get moved over to FanDuel and DraftKings and talk about my core picks on both sides. So it's going to be one player at each position. So point guard, shooting guard, small forward, power forward, and center. But without further ado, we'll get started with that recap of yesterday's picks. So on the DraftKings side, we had Damian Lillard, $8,600. Look for at least 43 out of him. So there was no Giannis yesterday. We did expect, a pretty big bump up for Damian Lillard just in general. He only got to 31. He was a mess. Only played 25 minutes in this game, and it was a massive, massive blow up. Which if you're a Bucks fan, if you're the Bucks coach, you should be very, very disappointed because even without Giannis, there's no way you should lose to the Cleveland Cavaliers by 40 points. That is just unacceptable. But that's a whole different story for another day. Unfortunately, Damian Lillard did ultimately end up being a miss because of all that. And then at shooting guard, we had Jalen Green, $5,800. Looking for at least 29 out of him. Probably one of the better price tags you're going to see on him all season. He's been doing a little bit better as of late, but only got 24.75, so he technically was a miss as well. 6 for 15 shooting from the field, mainly to score the ball, which is kind of something that does happen most of the time for him, just in general. So unfortunately, it was a miss there. But then after that, we get down to RJ Barrett, $6,600, looking for at least 33 out of him. Got to 41, so he was a really good hit on yesterday's slate. Then at power forward, we had Bobby Portis, $5,800, looking for at least 29 out of him. Got to 30, so he was a hit as well. Did pretty well, obviously, with no Giannis out there. He kind of takes up a decent step up and gets some extra minutes at that point in time as well. And then last but not least, at center, we had Rudy Gobert, $7,100, looking for at least 36 out. Got to 45, so he was a really good hit on yesterday's slate as well. So kind of a mixed bag there on DraftKings. Obviously, if you had some other decent plays, you still had a chance to cash it on yesterday's slate overall. Then on the FanDuel side, we had Damian Lillard once again, $8,500. So still once again looking for about 43 out. Got to 31.9, so he was a mess. Like I said on DraftKings side, 25 minutes. This game was a massive, massive blowout, so just kind of unfortunate there. Then at shooting guard, we went with Dante DiVincenzo, $5,700, playing pretty well as of late. He's been playing pretty decent-sized minutes ever since they got rid of Emmanuel quickly. In the games without Jalen Brunson, he was doing even better. So kind of liked him yesterday. Unfortunately, only got to 12.9 points, so he was a mess. Only played 19 minutes in this game. So it was pretty unfortunate for him overall. Then at small forward, we had RJ Barrett once again, $6,700, looking for at least 34 out of him. Got to 40.1, so he was a really good hit on the FanDuel side as well. At power forward, went with Isaiah Stewart, $5,400, looking for at least 27 out of him. Got to 29.8, so he was a hit. And then last but not least, we had Bobby Portis at center, $5,600, looking for at least 28 out of him. Got to 29.7, so he ultimately ended up being a hit as well. So kind of a mixed bag on FanDuel as well. Obviously, when we had Damian Lillard on both sides, that was going to be kind of the thing, and then shooting guard just wasn't the greatest for us yesterday in general. If you had some other decent plays, you still had a decent shot at cashing yesterday overall. But with that being said, we'll get moved over to RotoWire and talk about the injuries in play for tonight's slate overall. So once again, it is a 5-game main slate. We do have 2 games tipping off right at 7:30 Eastern time, so definitely be on the lookout for that, as we should have some pretty big news for these games overall. But we're going to start off with the Washington Wizards. Daniel Gafford's out tonight. They did recently trade for Marvin Bagley, so it'll be very interesting to see whether or not he gets the start. If he starts, he's going to look pretty good on the slate overall. And he has a pretty respectable price tag on both sides tonight overall. Then for the New York Knicks, we know Mitchell Robinson's going to be out. They are on the back-to-back, so we'll see ultimately if anybody else pops up. Jalen Brunson was questionable heading up to yesterday's game, had missed a couple games there with that calf injury. If he's out tonight, then obviously we can go back to Miles McBride, who was a guy that we did talk about quite a bit in the core picks yesterday. And I would kind of assume that Jalen Brunson doesn't play the back-to-back coming off that calf injury, but I could be wrong at the same time. Then for the Chicago Bulls, they're without Torrey Craig once again. Patrick Williams listed as questionable due to an ankle injury. I would assume also listed as questionable due to a shoulder injury, so we'll see whether or not those two guys play tonight or not. Could open up some minutes for some other guys off the bench. And then we got Dalen Terry listed as probable, as well as Andre Drummond listed as probable as well. So nothing too crazy here happening for this Bulls team overall. Then on the Toronto Raptors side, they did just trade Pascal Siakam away to the Indiana Pacers. A lot of those pieces in that trade, probably still not going to play today, but the Raptors are also on a back-to-back, so we'll see what that looks like as the day moves along. We did see this starting lineup yesterday of quickly Trent, Barrett, Scotty Barnes, and Jonte Porter, so probably going to see that once again tonight. And Gary Trent actually did play really well in that game overall. Then we move over to the Oklahoma City Thunder and the Utah Jazz. Both these teams appear to be all the way healthy at this point in time, so no real injury notes there as of this point in time. And then we move down to the Memphis Grizzlies, who are without Desmond Bane, Brandon Clark, Jake LaRavia, Derrick Rose, and Marcus Smart. And then obviously Ja Morant's out for the season. So, really banged up team at this point in time. But, we're seeing opportunities for guys like Luke Kennard and Vince Williams to really step up. Obviously, Jaren Jackson's going to do his thing more times than not. And then even Xavier Tillman at center has been playing pretty well as of late. Then on the opposite side, we got the Minnesota Timberwolves there on the back-to-back. So we'll see if anything does change for them throughout the day. And then last but not least, we got the Pacers and the Kings. On the Pacers side, obviously they did just trade for Pascal Siakam. Looks like he's probably not going to play tonight. But then they also do have a few other guys listed as questionable as well. Tyrese Halliburton coming off the hamstring injury. Benedict Mathurin with an ankle injury at this point in time. Aaron Nesmith dealing with a leg injury. And then Obi Toppin, I can't even remember what his is at this point in time. So just a lot of moving pieces there. There could be some value that opens up on this team. But it is also the last game of the night, so we'll see whether or not we get that news at a decent point in time for today. And then on the Kings side, they look to be all the way healthy at this point in time. But with that being said, that's a quick little rundown on all the injuries in play for today's 5-game main slate. As always, I will be listing all the injury updates down in the comments below throughout the day, as well as the starting lineups as they do get announced throughout the night. But with that being said, we'll get moved over to DraftKings and talk about my core picks over there. So we're going to start off at the point guard position with Gary Trent Jr. He is $4,300. He was in that starting lineup last night for Toronto. He did have a really amazing game there. Don't expect him to repeat quite that much success, but at $4,300, looks like one of the better paydown options on today's slate overall. Goes against the Chicago Bulls. Slower paced team, but not a good defensive team whatsoever. Looking for 21-22 out of him. Currently having projected for about 25-26 today. Going to look like one of the better point per dollar plays, at least early on today's slate. Then at shooting guard, we're going to go with Colin Sexton. So he's $6,200. I kind of liked him a little bit yesterday when he had a little bit higher price tag, and then obviously that game did not ultimately end up going off. A pace-up spot here today against the Oklahoma City Thunder should be a pretty back-and-forth game, especially with the way Utah's been playing as of late. Colin Sexton, $6,200. We're looking for at least 31 out of him. Currently, I'm projected for 34. Could have a little bit upside for more. Could have a little bit downside for less at the same time as well. Then we're going to move down to small forward with RJ Barrett, $6,600 once again today. Looking for 33 out of him, averaging almost 31 so far on the season. He's been doing really well since he's been with this Toronto Raptors team. Obviously, it's his hometown team, a team that he always wanted to play for, everything else like that. Pascal Siakam's gone now at this point in time, so there's a little bit more usage just to go around in general. So RJ Barrett's looking pretty good once again. Currently, I'm projected for about 35, 36 tonight. Definitely has some upside for more, as we've seen in some recent games as well. And then we move down to power forward with Lauri Markkanen. He's a guy that was in our core yesterday, $8,300. Looking for 41, 42 out. So it's a pretty decent pace-up spot versus Oklahoma City Thunder tonight. Should be a pretty back-and-forth game once again, especially the way Utah's been playing as of late. And a lot of that is because of Lauri Markkanen. You're looking for 41, 42 out of him, averaging 42.5 so far on the season. I do currently have him projected for about 45, 46 tonight. Definitely has some upside for more. Might have a little downside for less, but has been a pretty safe, reliable, consistent player, especially as of late. And then last but not least, at the center position, we're going with Marvin Bagley III for the Washington Wizards. Do kind of assume that he enters that starting lineup in place of Daniel Gafford since he's out tonight. $4,000, you only need 20 out of him. Currently, I'm projected for 26, but definitely has some pretty strong upside for more if he goes out and plays decent-sized minutes at the same time as well. But with that being said, if you go with these 5 players that I do currently have listed here, you have $20,600 remaining. Just under $6,900 per player. So there's some room and flexibility there. Whether you want to pay up for a stud, that's something you can definitely do, and then plug and play some other value plays. Or if you want to take a little bit more balanced approach, definitely something you could do today. It's going to be a pretty interesting 5-game main slate just in general. But with that being said, we'll get moved over to FanDuel and talk about my core picks over there as well. So on the FanDuel side, we're going to start off at the point guard position with De'Aaron Fox. He is $9,200, so we're not getting quite the value we did the other day when we played him at $8,700, but looking for 46 out of him. He's averaging about 45 so far on the season. Goes against the Pacers tonight. It's going to be a pace-up spot just in general. Do like him quite a bit. Currently I'm projected for 47, 48. Definitely has some strong upside for more. Has a little bit of downside for less, obviously, since he did struggle for a little while, but we were able to take advantage of it the other night, and I think we're going to be able to do that once again tonight. Then we're going to move down to shooting guard with Luke Kennard, the de facto point guard for the Memphis Grizzlies at this point in time. He's $4,800. We're looking for at least 24 fantasy points out of him tonight. Obviously, when you look at this Memphis team, it's not pretty, but Luke Kennard is a guy that is a solid NBA player as opposed to some of these other guys that are playing at this point in time. He's going to get some three-point shots going down. He's going to facilitate just a little bit, so there's some assists there as well. $4,800, just a little bit too cheap of a price tag for what he should be at this point in time. Currently having projected for about 26 fantasy points tonight. Then we move down to RJ Barrett once again at that small forward position. He's up to $6,800 on the FanDuel side tonight, looking for at least 34 out of him. Currently I'm projected for 36. Has some pretty decent upside for more. Has a little bit of downside for less, but it is a pretty favorable matchup against the Chicago Bulls. No Pascal Siakam out there once again, so there's a little bit more usage to go around just in general, which RJ Barrett has soaked up a little bit more in recent games as he's been playing rather well as of late. And then we move down to power forward. We got Keegan Murray here at $6,600, looking for 33 out of him. Going against the Pacers tonight, it's a pace-up spot just in general. He's averaging about 29 so far in the season. He's been playing pretty well as of late. Obviously, there was that one game where he kind of failed just because he got injured, but other than that, he's been playing really well as of late. You know, you're looking for 33 out of him at $6,600. Currently, I'm projected for about 34, 35. Definitely has some strong upside for more. Has some downside for less, especially if he goes out there and he's not shooting the ball well. But definitely a guy that I do like at that power forward position once again tonight. Then last but not least, we're going to Marvin Bagley once again. He's $5,000, so we're looking for at least 25 fantasy points out of him. If he's in that starting lineup in place of Daniel Gafford tonight, he's going to look like a really solid option. Obviously, it depends on how many minutes he plays, but if he gets at least 24, 25 minutes in this game, should pay off at this price tag. Do currently have him projected for about 26 fantasy points tonight. Definitely has some strong upside for more if he goes out and plays like 28 minutes in tonight's game. But has a little bit of downside for less. If he goes out, he starts, and he only plays like 20 minutes, then, he might not pay off at that price tag, but it's definitely worth the gamble at $5,000 at this point in time. But with that being said, if you go with the 5 players that I do have listed here, you have $27,600 remaining, which is $6,900 per player remaining. So a little bit of flexibility there. If you want to pay up for a stud player, it's probably something you could still do. Otherwise, if you want to take a little bit more balanced approach, that'd definitely be fine on today's 5-game main slate overall as well. But if you want to take a little bit more balanced approach, this is definitely something that's going to be pretty valuable on tonight's 5-game main slate overall as well. But with that being said, these are my core picks for both DraftKings and FanDuel for today, January 18th. As always, if you have any questions related to NBA DFS, be sure to leave them down in the comments below, and I'll get back to you as quickly as possible. I do ask that you please note whether those questions are more FanDuel or DraftKings specific, just so I can best help you as quickly and efficiently as possible. And then with that being said, I will be listing all the injury updates as they do come out throughout the day, as well as the starting lineups as they are announced throughout the night. And then last but not least, I will be posting my updated core about 15 to 20 minutes prior to lock. Sometimes it comes out a little bit sooner than that, so definitely be on the lookout for that. It will be down in the comments below, left as a pinned comment. If there's any other changes to that updated core after that pinned comment, I'll leave them as a reply to that pinned comment as well. But with that being said, if you are brand new to my channel, checking it out for the very first time, or have yet to subscribe, please consider doing so. Definitely would appreciate it. Helps to build the community that we're trying to build here at Coach Craig Sports, which is one that's truly for you, the viewers, helping you with your DFS. Right now, we just have NBA DFS going on Monday through Friday in terms of the core pick videos. And then last but not least, if you're interested in sports betting, if you're interested in prop betting whatsoever, be sure to check out the links and promo codes down in the description below for BetUS, Parlay Play, and Prize Picks. If you're a brand new user on any one of those 3 sites, when you make your initial deposit, you will get a first match deposit bonus. For Parlay Play and Prize Picks, it's 100% match on your initial deposit up to $100. For BetUS, it's 125% match on your initial deposit up to $2,500. So some pretty great opportunities to be had out there. If you have any other questions related to sports betting or prop betting just in general, feel free to reach out to me, whether it's down in the comments or on Twitter at Coach Craig Sport. I'd be more than happy to help you with that journey as well. But with that being said, that's all that I truly have for today's video. Definitely do appreciate each and every one of you tuning in. Definitely means a lot to me. I hope that each and every one of you have a great rest of your day and some pretty good luck in NBA DFS tonight.